Hello, my name is Amy Ralph, and I am the Region 5 Director. So I serve the Piedmont Triad area. I also am a media coordinator in Lexington, North Carolina, as a part of Lexington City Schools, and I work at Southwest Global Academy. As far as my schedule is concerned, I have a fixed schedule in the morning, so I have classes from around 7:50 to 11:30 every day. I teach 5 classes a day because we're a 1 through 5 school year. I also have a more flexible schedule in the afternoon from 12 to 2. So I use that schedule to help me plan with teachers. But today we're going to talk about what to do if you don't have a schedule that's flexible. If you have a fixed schedule, what to do in order to plan with the teachers in your building. Because as we all know, part of our rubric is planning with teachers, but it's like, when do I have time to do that? When I have 8 or 9 classes a day, and I'm trying to catalog books, and I'm trying to shelve, and deal with tech issues. Because I'm sure, like a lot of you, I don't have a technology facilitator here, and I also do not have a media assistant. And due to COVID learning loss, I'm not really allowed to have student assistants this year because my principal does not want students out of the classroom. So I can't really use student assistant help there. I also do not have an FTO or PTO that's very active in the building as far as volunteering is concerned. So I don't have a whole lot of volunteers that are able to come in and assist me with cataloging books or shelving. While this video is geared more towards elementary media specialists who have a fixed schedule, this video is also geared towards secondary media specialists because I'm going to give you some suggestions on how to get started with collaboration, planning, and possibly co-teaching with teachers in your building, because you may not know where to start. You may have a goal to do that, but you can't really get a teacher to want to be willing to work with you, or you can't get a teacher to come in and plan with you or co-teach with you. So I'm going to give you some suggestions on how to do that too in this video. So what do you do to collaborate with teachers if you have a fixed schedule all day and you cannot meet with teachers? Because usually when we're in elementary level and we're in the specials rotation, the teachers are planning while we're having their classes. So how do we plan with teachers then? So I have a couple suggestions. Number one, you want to know the curriculum. You want to know the curriculum inside and out. You want to make sure you know your grade level curriculum, or if it's high school and middle school media people, you want to know your subject area curriculum, so that way you can make suggestions to teachers of ways that you can incorporate that in your media class, or ways that you can come in their classroom and co-teach with them, depending on your schedule. Most of the elementary people with the fixed schedule, you're not going to be able to go in and co-teach because you're going to be teaching in your classroom, but you can support your teachers through lessons in your media classes. But how do we cover ISTE standards and that? A lot of the ISTE standards are about researching, and they're about using technology. So you can incorporate those in project-based learning, but also pull a subject area in for the teachers. So you could either front load something, like for example, right now, my second grade teachers are teaching science. They switch off between science and social studies. Their next thing is social studies, and they're going to do economics. So right now what I'm doing in my media classes is front loading economics to these kids, so that way they have a little bit of information and knowledge. So when the teachers start teaching economics in the classroom, they don't have to spend as much time with teaching it to the students, because I've already taught it to them in the media class. Or if they've already had it in the classroom, it could be a review, like at the end of the school year when you're prepping for those EOGs or those end of course tests. You can go back and reteach something that they learned at the beginning of the school year as a refresher in your media class. So that way they're getting retaught those concepts that they learned at the beginning of the year again. So that's preparing them more for their standardized testing. So how do you figure out what the teachers are doing in the classroom? So you know what to teach in your media classes. You could follow the district pacing guide if you guys have a district pacing guide. However, the teachers are not always following the pacing guide, or they're ahead of the pacing guide or behind the pacing guide, depending on where their kids are at. What I've done in the past is I would contact the department chair. So it's important to know who your department chairs are, because then you can contact them to ask them what they're doing, what they're working on, and you can also do it to your comfort level. Like, for example, I feel comfortable teaching social studies concepts, I feel comfortable teaching science, and I feel comfortable teaching reading concepts. I am not big on math concepts just because I do not know Common Core math or the new ways they teach math, and I do not want to teach students how to do math in the wrong way. So I kind of try to refrain from teaching math that much. But once you talk to your department chair, you find out what you're doing, then you can have kind of a choice of what you want to focus on. I do a lot of science and social studies in my building simply because those two subjects seem to get pushed to the back a little bit at the elementary level, because testing is in math and reading for grades 3, 4, and then they start increasing how much science they do in 5th grade. But I like to focus on science and social studies concepts besides that. You can also tie in those ISTE standards in there, because you could do a project-based learning with them and let them do research and let them create a presentation. If you're a one-to-one school, like many of us are, then you can have the students create a presentation in whatever format you want, Google or Apple apps, depending on what type of device you're using in your district or what kind of programs you guys have access to. In our district, we're an Apple district, so we use a lot of Apple apps to create presentations here. So what do you do if you try to contact the department chair via email and they don't respond? I would go to the department chair in person, so like before school or after school, and say, I don't know if you had time to read it, but I sent you an email and I was wondering what you guys were doing in your class in a couple weeks, because I want to be able to help support you with giving the kids some additional content ideas or helping them do a project that you can use to show what they've learned about this particular subject, or it could be for a grade, or I want to provide you some resources to help you with teaching. So if they don't respond via email, just go to them in person. Hopefully you've taken the time to kind of get to know your people in your building, and it will be no big deal for you to go and talk to them about what they're doing in their classes in a couple weeks. You do want to plan whatever you're doing in advance and not wait like the day before or the day of, because a lot of this takes a decent amount of planning on the media specialist end, especially if you're doing a project. You have to do a lot of setup for that, and you have to decide what things you're going to teach the students. There's a decent amount of prep time if you're going to plan a project-based learning that also incorporates classroom standards. If you are on a flexible schedule at any point in the day, or if you are a secondary media specialist, then I suggest that you try and co-teach with teachers to meet the requirements of our rubric as far as co-planning, co-teaching. Some of this is easier said than done. If you are just starting this and you're a secondary person, you need to find a teacher in your building that is known to be a teacher that does a lot of projects, a teacher that uses a lot of technology in the class. It might be a BT teacher, because BT teachers are always looking for some additional help in their classroom as far as teaching. So it may be easier to reach out to one of those individuals first to do a co-planning, co-teaching project. Once you have established that relationship with that teacher, what you're hoping for is a word of mouth kind of thing, where they will say something like, "Oh, well, I did this co-teaching with Miss Ralph and it was amazing and I loved it and you should do it too." Because then what happens is more and more people start signing up to co-teach with you and do things with you. You can also talk to your principal about who may need more assistance with integrating technology in their classroom, and volunteer to assist those individuals with increasing their technology use by doing some projects with them to kind of help them out, not as a gotcha, but as a kind of way to assist them with being more comfortable with using technology in their classroom and incorporating it in. Once you figure out who to co-teach with, you need to co-plan with them. You need to make sure that they are comfortable with the technology piece that you're using in the classroom. So that way y'all are actually co-teaching, and it's not you coming in and teaching the class and them kind of sitting at their desk and not doing anything. They need to be up with you and teaching the material and helping you with the tech piece, so that way there's two of you doing both of those parts. At the elementary level, this may be a bit more difficult for you, but if you have a partial flex schedule, I recommend that you kind of do this. If you're checking out books all day, you may want to get some student media assistants, if that's at all possible in your building, to run the checkout for you, so that way you don't necessarily have to be in the space all the time. Or if you can get some volunteers of parents to come in and run checkout in the afternoon, that's also beneficial, because then you can free yourself up to go and co-teach in the classrooms. Right now, what I'm doing is my principal really values instructional time, and she does not want students out of the classroom a whole lot. So what we're doing is we're doing checkout in the mornings, and we're doing checkout during media class. And so in the afternoons from 12 to 2, I have this flexible scheduling time. At that time, what I'm doing is I am working with teachers to co-teach and incorporating Apple apps in the classroom, because we're a one-to-one Apple district. I'm trying to get in the classrooms more and help them with doing this project-based learning and getting the students to create using Apple apps. So I created a sign-up calendar for the teachers so they can schedule me for a time. And then when I was able to plan with grade levels one time this year, and we planned like for 2 months in advance. So we had already planned some co-teaching projects together earlier in December. So we're working on those co-teaching projects now. So I'm working with whole grade levels. We're doing the same kind of project in every class, and I'm just going in there and working with the kids, working with the teacher, and we're co-teaching and creating using those Apple apps. So, but that schedule is open when I don't have a meeting or something, so that way the teachers can sign up for a time. If no teacher is signed up for a time, then I work on media stuff. I work on cataloging, shelving, building the collection, weeding, that kind of stuff are normal job requirements. I work on those when no teacher is signed up with me. It's a bit difficult to find a balance between the two. A lot of my cataloging is kind of getting pushed to the back as far as getting that done. That's taking more time. So balancing all is tough, but it's worthwhile, because what you're doing is you're helping your teachers learn how to embrace technology. And while you're spending all this time up front, you may be able to later on, once they get comfortable, to back off a little bit and let them develop their own projects and do their own things in technology. This year, I've seen people who were extremely reluctant to use technology in their room. I did one co-teaching with them, and they are like, now they're incorporating more stuff by themselves independently without me having to come in there. And so I'm not having to go in there as much as I was at the beginning of the school year. They're doing it by themselves. So that's what we want for our teachers, is for them to feel comfortable with doing research, doing project-based learning, and doing and using technology in the classroom with their students. So once you get to that point, once you get kind of your whole team in your building doing that, then you can fall back and not have to participate in the co-teaching process so much. But having the schedule open and available and letting yourself be free to assist teachers makes them feel more comfortable about coming to you, makes them feel like they can count on you to assist them with stuff, and that helps us meet the requirements of our rubric of working with teachers in the co-teaching piece. So in the earlier parts of the video, I talked about collaborating with teachers, planning with teachers, and ways that you can start co-teaching. In this part of the video, I'm going to give you some project ideas to use. I have included project ideas for all grade levels, K-12. So feel free to use whatever you want to use. The projects for grades 1 through 5 are projects that I've actually done with students, and they have an example of screenshot of a project that we've done in our building. So feel free to use whatever you want to use. now that you've seen all my project ideas, take a couple minutes to write down a couple of your own that you might use in your media class, or you can use to co-teach with teachers, or go back through the project ideas that I gave you and kind of jot down what might be good for your school, depending on how far your kids are with technology, or depending on how comfortable your teachers are with the technology piece. Do not be afraid to teach them the tech part. So if you're not tech savvy and you don't know it, then you learn it and then you teach it to your teachers. So that way they can learn it and continue to make these projects in their own classrooms. I hope this video has given you some ideas on how you can collaborate with your teachers, start planning with teachers in your building, and doing all that on a fixed schedule while you also try to complete your jobs in the media center. I hope that you can get to a point where you are able to co-teach with your teachers in your building, even though it takes up a lot of time and it takes me out of the media center where I am not doing a lot of the things that need to be done in here. It is still a beneficial activity because it meets our rubric standards. It shows that our school is one that is trying to push technology, push innovation. It creates a collaborative and co-teaching bond between me and my classroom teachers. So that way, I know that if there's something that I want to do with them in the future as far as teaching is concerned, they will trust me to do that because they have worked with me one-on-one and actually seen me teach, which is something that is not done often in buildings. We often do not have time to go watch each other teach. So I hope that's helped. The project ideas are just ones that I came up with. I tried to include a lot of different tools across different devices. There were a couple where Apple is just best to use. An Apple iPad or MacBook would be best to use for those projects. And that's why I just put that Apple product. But for the most part, I tried to put multiple tools so that way you could use it if you're a Google district and you have Chromebooks, which I think the majority of the districts around us have one-to-one Chromebooks and not necessarily one-to-one iPads. So overall, I hope that you found this beneficial. If you are still having difficulty and you need more help, if you have a standard and you need some kind of project idea, or if you are just having difficulty getting started with your teachers and you need some more help, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to put my Twitter handle, my email address for NC Slamma, and my email address for work on the video on the last slide. So please feel free to reach out if you need further assistance with collaborating, planning, co-teaching, any kind of technology project idea. If you need help with any of that, please feel free to reach out to me. Also, shameless plug, I will be meeting with the Region 5 people on Thursday, February 16th from 4 to 5. So if you want to hop on and say hey, or you want to ask some questions about what I'm doing or how you can get started with things in your building, please just jump on and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. All right, feel free to contact me, and I hope this video leads you to collaborating, planning, and co-teaching within your building and doing amazing things